The distance for the running portion of a triathlon is 3 and 2/10 kilometers. What decimal is equivalent to 3 and 2/10? So they give us a mixed number, and all they want is a decimal that is equal to this mixed. Okay. So our mixed number was 3 and 2/10. Remember, whenever you're switching between fractions or mixed numbers and decimals, there are 3 places for you to look. Okay? First thing, you always look in front. So in this case, I have a number in front of my fraction. If I have a number in front of my fraction, that same number needs to be in front of my decimal. So if there was a 3 in front, I need to keep the 3 in front. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of any answer choice that doesn't have a 3 in the front of the decimal. A, B, and C all have a 3 in front, which is fine. It's exactly what I want. But C has a 2. I can get rid of one answer choice right away. The second thing I'm going to check is my denominator. Again, denominator is the most important number in the fraction. When we're changing between mixed numbers and decimals, there are really 2 denominators that you're going to have. You're going to have either a 10 or a 100. The denominator tells you how many place values or how many decimal place values you're going to need. So with a 10, notice that it has 1 0. That means I'm going to need 1 decimal place value, just 1. If I had 100, there are 2 zeros. Bless you, Jadine. That means I would need 2 decimal place values. So I know that whatever number I pick is going to have 1 decimal place value. The last place I check is my numerator, whatever number is on top of my fraction. The numerator does not change. It is not my job to change it. I'm going to take my numerator and put it after the decimal. Bella, make sure we're focusing and we're not playing around with the chat, okay? So if my numerator was 2 before, I'm not going to change it to anything. All I'm going to do is move it after the decimal. 3.2. If I take a look at the answer choices I have left, I have 3.02, I have 3.12, and 3. So the one that I need to pick is D. Answer choice A is really close, but they use 2 place values. I only needed 1. B also had 2 place values. Plus, instead of using the numerator, they added a 1 to it. The 1 came from nowhere. I can't just add numbers wherever I feel like it. They have to come from somewhere. They have to already be here for me to use. So the only one I can pick is D. Kaylee, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Bella, you said number 3? Oh, 2 and 3. Okay. Mr. Hughes put 9 and 15/100 gallons of gasoline in his fuel tank. Okay, again, I have a word form number. They use the word and, they're telling me there's a decimal here. There's my decimal. 9 and 15/100 gallons of gasoline in his fuel tank. How is this number written in expanded notation? Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is actually write my number. If it's in word form, it's harder for me to work with. I want to get into standard form. Christopher, make sure we're not playing around, sir. I know there's going to be a decimal. In front of the decimal, there's a 9. Behind the decimal, says 15. So I need 2 place values. In front of the decimal is the ones place. Bella, make sure we're paying attention, baby. In front of the decimal is the ones place. After the decimal, right next to it, it's always the 10th place. The 10th place is like your dimes. If you write it as a decimal, it's 0.1. After the 10th place, it's always going to be your 100th. Those are like your pennies. And you write that 0.01. So there's my number. I know what place values they're in. Expanded notation, all that means is you're going to take the numbers and you're going to break them apart into place values. That's all I do for expanded notation. My first number is a 9. The 9 is in the ones place. So whatever expanded notation I pick needs to start with a 9 in the ones place. 9 times 10. My 9 is not in the tens place. 9 times 100. My 9 is not in the hundreds place. 9 times 1. 9 times 1. Both of those are okay. The next number I have is a 1. That 1 is in the tenths place. Now, this is part of the reason why I write those reminders on top of the 10th and on top of the 100th every single time I write them. On top of the 10th, it's 0.1. That's how I show that this 1 is in the 10th place. 1 times 0.1. For F and G, yeah, they all start with the number 9, but they're putting them in the wrong place values. F put it in the tens place, G put it in the hundreds place. H and J both have 9, and they have it in the right place value. Now I check the number 1. 1 times 0.50. If I look at the top of these place values, 0.50 doesn't match either place value. That is not how you write it. 1 times 0.1. 1 times 0.1. That matches. If I check the 5, it matches again. 5 times 0.01. 5 times 0.01. So my answer is J. This is the answer choice that shows me this number in expanded notation with all the numbers in the right place values. And number 3, too, you said. Mason wrote the number down. Mason wrote the number shown. He underlined one digit and circled another digit. Well, you can check your test, Bella. So if you look at it, you'll be able to see what answers you picked. So he underlined one, circled the other one. Which of the following statements is true? Okay, so true and false, true and false, true and false, true and false. True about the circled digit. Okay, so I'm going to put an arrow on the circled one. That's the one I need to pay attention to. If I read my answer choices, I see that they're talking about comparing the place values. Remember, whenever they're comparing place values, there's only two answers that I should be using. If the place value is a bigger place value, then it should be 10 times bigger. If the place value is a smaller place value, then it will be 1/10 smaller. Make sure we're focused, Bella. Look at the one I put the arrow on top of. The one with an arrow on top of it, it's not the bigger place value. It's the smaller place value. So this is what I need to look for. A, its value is 100 times greater than the value of the underlined digit. No, I'm not even going to try to double check that because it says 100 times and that's not either one of my answers. B, its value is 1/10 of the value of the underlined digit. It is the smaller one. We did say smaller is 1/10. C, its value is 80 times. Nope, I don't even have to finish reading it. If it's not 10 times or 1/10, it's wrong. D, its value is 1/8. Nope, don't have to finish reading it. It's not 10 times or 1/10, it's wrong. There's only one answer choice that uses one of the two things that it could be. And that is answer choice B. They are looking at the smaller one, so it does need to be 1/10. Number 4. Move it down a little bit. The counter shows the population of San Antonio, Texas. Here's my counter. What is the value of the digit 7 in this number? Okay. They gave me the numbers. And since they wrote them nice and big, I can actually make my place value chart around these numbers. I don't have to draw it myself. I'm going to put the labels on the bottom because they wrote counter on the top and they kind of messed that up for me. And I have the ones place, tens place, hundreds place, comma, thousands place, 10,000s place, 100,000s place, comma, and millions. Don't forget, there's always a pattern with the place values. Ones, tens, hundreds, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, and that pattern keeps on going. Sure. And they ask you about the value of the digit 7. So this is what they're interested in. So I don't need to pay attention to any of my other digits, just number 7. If I look, number 7 is in the thousands place. So it's not just a regular 7. That 7 is actually 7,000 because it's in the thousands place. All I have to do now is match that 7,000 to one of my answer choices. F says 70,000. No, that's close, but that doesn't match. G says 700. Again, close, does not match. H, 7,000. That matches beautifully. And J, not here. Well, I found a match. I don't want to pick that one. My answer is H.
Thank you.
No problem. Jada, you said 6, right? Okay. The table below shows the rainfall amount for 4 months. So February, March, April, and May. Elton wrote equations for the rainfall amounts that showed equivalent mixed numbers for the amounts in the graph. Which equation that Elton wrote is not true? True, false, true, false, true, false, false. Okay? All I'm doing is checking his work. That's it. Doesn't matter whether you want to start with decimals like he did, or whether you want to start with fractions. Either way is okay. Since he went ahead and started with decimals, I'll start with decimals too. Okay? 0.3. There are 3 places that you look. First place, you look in front of the decimal. Anything in front of the decimal goes in front of the fraction. There's a 0 in front of my decimal. That means I don't need anything on top in front of my fraction. A 0 is a 0. The next thing I look at is how many place values after the decimal they used. They only used 1 place value. Sorry. That means, since they only used 1 place value, that my denominator needs to be 10. If you're ever not sure, you can't remember, look at how many zeros it has. A 10 has 1 0, so there's only 1 place value. 100 has 2 zeros, so that's 2 place values. So I know my denominator is 10. The last place I look is, what number do I see here? Whatever number I see, I don't change. It's not a different number all of a sudden. All I'm doing is moving it. I move it to the top of my fraction. 3 out of 10. Bella, make sure we're focused. That one matches. 0.3, 3 out of 10. That's true. Now I check the next one. 2.35. Again, 3 places you look. First place, you look in front of the decimal. I have a 2 in front of the decimal. That means I need to have a 2 in front of the fraction. And actually, let me write that a little bit bigger. So there needs to be a 2 in front of the fraction because there is a 2 in front of the decimal. Second thing you check. How many decimal place values did they need? They needed 1, 2. So that means my denominator is 100. 2 zeros, 2 place values. Last place I look is what number do they have behind the decimal. Again, I'm not going to change that number. All I'm doing is moving it. 3, 5 goes on top of my decimal, my fraction. So I should have 2 and 35 out of 100. 2 and 35 out of 100. Also true. Then I take a look at H. 5.08. Same thing. 3 places I check. First, I look in front of the decimal. There's a 5 in front of the decimal. That means there needs to be a 5 in front of the fraction. Second place I check, how many place values, how many decimal place values did they need? 1, 2. So my denominator is 100. Again, if you ever don't remember, how many zeros do you have? 2 zeros, 2 place values. 1 0, 1 place value. I needed 2 for this number. Last thing, what number did they put behind the decimal? Not going to change it, just going to move it. 5 and 8 out of 100. 5 and 8 out of 100. Also true. Problem J. 4.5. Again, always look in front of the decimal. 3 places you look, first place is always in front. There's a 4 in front of the decimal. That means I need a 4 in front of my fraction. Second place I look, how many decimal place values do they have? Got 1 decimal place value. That means my denominator is... I'm sorry to hear that, Brianna, but I'm glad you're still trying to stay connected. There's 1 decimal place value, so my denominator is 10. Again, 1 0, 1 place value. Last thing, whatever number is behind the decimal. Not going to change it, just going to move it. 4 and 5 out of 10. 4 and 5 out of 100. That is false. So my answer, J.